If you're going to write a book, if you're going to write a story, if you're going to write a newspaper article or an online article, a post on social media, it is imperative that you write from your soul because it is the only way you can write anything. Follow me on this little journey, Evolve. We're going to sit down and have a quick little fireside chat. The reason why I say that is because I believe it is universally true. I want you to try something. I want you to try writing an article, a story, a journal entry, whatever. But do it about something that you've never thought about and do it about something that you don't genuinely believe in your heart, your mind, and your soul. You're going to find you're not really going to be able to do it. And it's not because it's writer's block. It's because you're writing something that you are unaware of. I'll give you a prime example. When I first wrote Ward, my flagship novel, the novel that's available today is not the original version. If anything, it's the third version that was rewritten twice after the first one came out. And you might be wondering, well, why did you publish the first version, delete it, republish the second version, delete it, and then you rewrote the third one and you called it a day? Good question. The reason why I did that is because the first version of Ward had so much negativity, so much wickedness, so much hatred, so much malice, so much spite, anger, and a real nasty temper. And every other word was laced with profanity. I'm just going to keep it honest with you. That the reader could feel it. And I already write in a way that's so visceral and true to my soul. If you've watched any of my other videos, I don't spare details. I don't hold back. I tell you what's on my mind. I tell you what's in my soul. And the first version of Ward, that was not a benefit. That was the problem. And the very best piece of advice I ever got was from my aunt, who said to me, Kyle, in order for me to even pick up your book, I have to already be angry at the world. Think about what I just said. Notice that I didn't say my book ticks her off. My book makes her think. What happens in my book ticks her off. She has to already be in an angry, chaotic, lower energy frequency, whatever state to even be able to pick up my novel. That bothered me for a very, very, very long time. And I couldn't figure out why until just one day I was in my apartment in Los Angeles and I just picked up the old version of my book, started to reread a random section. I don't remember what it was. And I sat there and I went, there is no way I wrote this. I've got profanity every other word. I've got violence that's being over glorified in far too grim detail. I understand dystopia is not sunshine and rainbows with pancakes on bunnies' foreheads or whatever, but it shouldn't be so overwhelming, so palpable, so negatively destructive to the reader that it brings their energy down. And then the only way they could bother to read your book, if they can even finish it, because frankly, I wouldn't blame anyone for not being able to finish reading the first two versions that I printed. It, it surprised me. And it surprised me in a very bad way in the beginning. And then later on, when I started reflecting on it and I recognized, okay, what was my current state of mind at the time when I wrote these first two versions? And I realized the level of pain in my life that I hadn't dealt with. The level of just, I don't want to say trauma, because I really wouldn't say it was trauma. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But the level of a lack of peace and a lack of love of thyself within led to me taking out my anger on the characters in my books. It led to them being in overly bad situations. It led to them overly cursing and being overly hostile and aggressive with a very bad temper. And I realized the reason why my characters acted the way they acted is because that is how I would act in real life. And this is the part of writing that I feel a lot of writers and authors know, but they don't consciously know how to name it. I think it's something that is just inherently subconscious to one's soul and spirit, but it is impossible to write something. How can I say this? It is impossible for you to write something if your soul is not at that level. Because all form of writing, whether you want to admit it or not, is a reflection of the current state of one's soul, one's mind, and one's spirit. Back in the very beginning, when I wrote the first draft of Ward, I was all over the place. I was angry. I was chaotic. I was getting into verbal fights with my friends, my family, the people who were very closest to me. I was getting like aggressive and hostile and combative with them. And I saw the combat as a need to defend myself against, me against the world. And if you ever read the original version, which heaven forbid, I don't want you to read that because that is not who I am anymore, you'll see the characters are doing the exact same thing. It's just far more dystopian with flamethrowers, cereal blazers, blood curdlers, and other crazy crap that would make most people crap their pants in modern times. So when I rewrote the first and the second version, which ultimately led to the third and final version, I started transitioning more and more to a better place. And I noticed the more so I grew out of the pain and the chaos in my life, my writing was naturally getting better. I especially noticed it with Cat Nether, and I'm really, really noticing it with the upcoming novel Alessia. Not sure when I'm going to release that book yet, but keep your eyes out for it. It will be coming out relatively soon ish. Anywho, what I was recognizing is that the more so peaceful I became in my life, and I still have a pretty good bit of progress and work yet to do on this, so I'm not done with it by any means. I'm only 31 years young. But I'm realizing my characters, even though they're in chaotic situations, they're looking at addressing these situations and they're dealing with the chaos that they're whatever dealing with. They're dealing with it in a very calm, cool, and collected way. And they're under situations that are way more intense in the novel farther down the sequel than what they were in Ward, even though Ward was bad, but they're handling it a lot better. And that is very much a reflection of how I handle situations in real life. Am I perfect at it? No, absolutely not. Like I said earlier, I still have a very long way to go in order to reach that level of genuine, sincere inner peace and love of thyself within. But I have taken the first real step in doing that, and it reflects in my material. So, at the end of the day, no matter what you're writing, and it's the same thing if you're a painter, a musician, artist, whatever, you can only create what the current state of your soul is at that particular point in time. It's like trying to pick up an object, whatever it is, close your eyes, but then describe the object without using your memory. It is utterly impossible for you to do. Well, likewise, it's impossible for you to create something that you're not. You just can't do it. I welcome you to try it. I welcome you to see if it's possible. But I think you're going to find yourself banging your head against the proverbial wall. So if you're working on creating either your magnum opus, what you think is your magnum opus, or if you just want to write just for the sake of writing and to have fun, learn to do what I'm learning to do right now, which is not necessarily need to develop your craft. Yes, that matters. And that happens with experience. You could read 100,000 books, listen to 1,000 videos on, writing and editing and proofreading and blah, 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 all you want. The only way you get better is by actually doing it. I've been doing this for 15, 20 years. I don't plan to stop until my last day on the earth is done. That's it. But the skill that matters most for you is to sit down and work on thyself. Work on understanding what love of thyself is. And if you don't know what that is, you need to go find it. Because a lot of humans nowadays are struggling on the earth and they are overwhelmed with the pain of their lives. And I don't want to go down that spiritual rabbit hole right now because you'll be listening to me talk quite literally all day. But if you want your writing to get better, if you want to leave a more the heck was that? A more so lasting impact on yourself, your legacy, and touching another person's heart with your material, learn to have love of thyself. Because if you know how to pay attention, you can tell when someone loves themselves enough and when they don't really love themselves at all through their writing, through their words, through what they say, and especially what they think. Although it's busy enough in our own heads, we don't need to be in other people's heads trying to figure out their chaos. We've got enough work to do as it is with ourselves. But in the end, guys, I just want to keep this very short, sweet, to the point. If you want to create something that genuinely works, something that genuinely lasts, something that you could one day show to your kids and go, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I created these characters, the world, the universe, politics, blah, blah, blah. Have love of thyself. Be working on that. Be working on it consciously, actively. Not something you do on the sidelines, but consciously, deliberately, with deadly serious intent. No pun intended. That's just the dystopia in me coming out. Anywho, y'all, I've kept you long enough for the day. Have a nice one. Take it easy, and I will catch you in the next video.